The moon was fractured. Shards of silver stone floated above the Earth's stratosphere like a jagged halo, remnants of a failed terraforming experiment. It had been humanity's last-ditch effort to escape a dying Earth. But instead, it tore the moon apart and opened something far worse. A rift, not just any tear in space-time, but a gaping maw that connected dimensions. One where nightmares didn't just exist, they thrived. Out of it emerged the first Demogorgon, snarling, faceless, cloaked in ripples of flesh that writhed like a living cloak. It descended upon the lunar base, decimating the remaining scientists before leaping to Earth with a howl that pierced satellites. The United Global Front tried to respond, deploying orbital cannons and mech suits, but the Demogorgon multiplied. They weren't born. They simply appeared, as if summoned by some unseen frequency. Cities vanished, oceans boiled, humanity scattered. And then, as if one extinction wasn't enough, the Xenomorphs came. Unlike the Demogorgons, they didn't crawl from the rift. They came in meteoric clusters, egg sacs embedded in iron asteroids, streaking through Earth's atmosphere like shooting stars with fangs. When they landed, they hatched. The black, sinewy creatures emerged, all teeth and acid blood, with queens trailing behind like death incarnate. The Demogorgons didn't notice at first. Their war was with humanity, but the Xenomorphs hunted everything. The first clash happened in what used to be Chicago, now a skeletal ruin covered in crimson ivy and Demogorgon slime. A Xenomorph drone lunged from the shadows, latching onto a feeding Demodog, burying its inner jaw into the Demodog's skull. The Demogorgon turned, shrieked, and retaliated with a flurry of claws. It tore the Xenomorph apart, but not before getting sprayed with acid that melted half its torso. The two predators fell together. Survivors watching from a nearby drone feed couldn't believe it. For the first time in years, the Demogorgons had an enemy other than humanity. At the crumbled remains of NASA's base in Arizona, scientists convened. Their numbers had dwindled from thousands to barely 70. The lead scientist, Dr. Nadia Rahman, paced among shattered monitors and radiation-soaked consoles. Her idea was wild, suicidal, brilliant. "We don't fight either," she said. "We make them fight each other." The room fell silent. General Madsen leaned forward, his cybernetic eye flickering. "Explain." "They're both apex predators. One comes from a dimension of chaos. The other, a species that perfects itself through parasitic evolution. Put them in proximity, they'll fight." General Madsen looked skeptical. "And what happens when one wins?" Dr. Rahman smiled grimly. "Then we nuke the winner." So began Operation Oblivion. Using what little orbital tech remained, the UGF launched beacon drones designed to emit frequencies mimicking the brainwaves of human prey. They dropped them across zones of heavy Demogorgon activity, areas like the Hollow Pit in Canada, the flame trenches of what was once Brazil, and the shattered arcologies in Siberia. Then they airdropped Xenomorph queens, sedated and restrained with electromagnetic shackles. Once on the ground, the sedatives would wear off, and the war would begin. It was chaos, but it worked. The rift-born Demogorgons, unable to ignore the invading pheromones of the Xenomorphs, attacked with primal rage. The Xenomorphs, operating on a hive mind, adapted quickly. They stopped hunting humans. They hunted Demogorgons. Cities turned into battlegrounds. Claws against tails. Acid against void-born flesh. Humanity watched from underground bunkers and orbital stations. It was spectacle and horror in equal measure. In the ruins of Paris, a Xenomorph queen faced off with a Demogorgon alpha. The Eiffel Tower had collapsed decades ago, now a jagged metallic skeleton where the two monsters met. The queen reared back, hissing, her elongated skull gleaming under a blood-red sky. The alpha snarled, blooming open its facial petals, revealing rows of jagged fangs. They clashed like titans. The queen impaled the Demogorgon with her tail, only to get her thorax shredded by the alpha's claws. Acid spilled. Flesh sizzled. Screams echoed across the wasteland. In the end, only bones remained. Dr. Rahman knew time was short. Both species were adapting. The Demogorgons began avoiding high xenozones. The Xenomorphs learned to burrow deep into the earth, building nests unreachable by drones. They were evolving their strategies, learning from every skirmish. The war between them became a chess match. One humanity was losing by surviving too long. Then something unthinkable happened. They began to merge. In New Africa, soldiers stationed at Outpost Theta reported seeing a new creature. 8 feet tall, black skin glistening like oil, with a head shaped like a xenomorph but the mouth of a demogorgon. It had a tail, claws, and moved like mist. It didn't just kill, it disappeared after the kill, like a shadow returning to darkness. A demomorph. The rift wasn't just letting creatures through anymore. It was evolving them. One night, an encrypted signal arrived at Orbital Base Echo. It was old, degraded, bouncing from relay to relay, origin unknown. Dr. Rahman decrypted it herself. It was human. We've seen them too. We have one. Captured. It speaks. The transmission ended in static. She didn't hesitate. She called for an extraction team. The drop team was led by Captain Hiro Tanaka, one of the last remaining elite soldiers with first-hand experience fighting both species. He'd lost half his team to a Xenohive in Moscow and the rest to a Demogorgon pack in India. He didn't believe in miracles, but he did believe in war. They landed in the Amazon wastes, navigating by crumbled coordinates. After 2 days of navigating fog-thick forests filled with the rustling of unseen things, they found a hidden lab. A single survivor remained, a pale man named Elias Venn, barely coherent, speaking in fragments. It talks to me in dreams. In the containment chamber behind inch-thick glass reinforced with xenoresin and human tech was the hybrid. It watched them with curiosity. Captain Tanaka raised his rifle. Why is it smiling? Dr. Rahman stepped closer. It's waiting. The hybrid spoke, not with words, but with thoughts. A mental intrusion that crawled like silk into their minds. We are not the end. We are the beginning. You shaped us. Now we reshape you. The chamber trembled. Glass cracked. Something primal stirred. Elias screamed. It called them. You don't understand. The rift. It's not just a hole. It's a gate. Dr. Rahman shouted, "Evacuate!" The hybrid burst from its prison, slaughtering Elias in a single blow. Captain Tanaka opened fire, but the bullets barely slowed it. With inhuman speed, it vanished into the shadows, whispering across the comms like a ghost. Survive me if you can. That night, the stars bled. Across Earth, rifts opened like black wounds in the sky. More hybrids came, some with wings, others with tentacles, all bearing the marks of both Demogorgon chaos and Xenomorph efficiency. The war had changed. It was no longer Demogorgon versus Xenomorph. It was Demomorph against humanity. Operation Oblivion was replaced with Protocol Eclipse. Total planetary exodus. But there weren't enough ships. Not enough resources. The Earth Defense Council proposed one final option. Collapse the rift. Dr. Rahman calculated it. It would require a singularity bomb, something untested, theoretical, dangerous. Captain Tanaka volunteered to deliver it. They launched from Earth's edge, entering the rift through a collapsing moon station now infested with demomorphs. The ship held only 1 bomb and 3 people. Tanaka, Rahman, and a dying AI named Omega-7. Inside the rift, reality fractured. Time reversed. Sounds bled color. They saw glimpses of Earth's past, future, and something else, an intelligence older than stars. The source. It watched them with infinite hunger. Tanaka didn't wait. He activated the bomb manually. You wanted survival? He whispered into the void. Choke on this. The explosion consumed the rift, the hybrids, and the moon station. On Earth, skies cleared for the first time in decades. The Demomorph screamed and vanished. Humanity emerged, blinking in silence. No one knew if Tanaka survived, but a single signal came through before the detonation. His voice, calm, resolute, live. They did, and in the silence of the stars, something stirred. The war was over, but the gate, it dreamed still,